Cool. I think we should be live and recording. Let's give a little moment to fill up.
Sure.
See, we've got people coming in. Good day, everyone. As you're falling in, welcome to the first webinar of the year. It is 2025. I hope everyone is back at it after the holidays. Some of you might still be in a bit of a transition. Most of us are at this point of the year. Full steam ahead, though. And today we've got Tycho over here, which is one of my favorite content creators on LinkedIn. We've always had a good back and forth. We think the same about a lot of things, especially content and branding in the B2B market. Tycho is doing a course with us, for those of you who didn't know, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And I figured let's just talk about some of the stuff that he is going to be putting in the course, number one, and number two, just to have that additional conversation, which is obviously not in a course format, where it's not just Tycho talking into a microphone and a camera, but rather in the setting of a webinar. So yeah, Tycho, if you don't mind, for those of the people here who don't know you, which I think is very unlikely, a little bit of an introduction about yourself, your background, the company, the agency, and yeah, then we take it from there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for the introduction. So yeah, my name is Tycho. You're actually pronouncing it right, Stefan, and I think a lot of people won't be able to do that because Tycho or Tycho. This is an international audience, and it's really a Dutch name with the Dutch in it. So Tycho or Tycho is also fine, whatever you make of it. I'm the CEO of and founder of a company called Dapper, the growth agency, and we're a B2B marketing agency. We were founded not too long ago, 5.5 years ago, but we grew quite fast. I think partly because we're so focused on B2B. So we're currently a team of 40, and we help B2B companies, mostly B2B scale-ups, improve their ROI on marketing, right? So from research to strategy, to creating content with them, setting up campaigns, optimizing them. We basically help them improve their marketing. And, generally complex propositions, long marketing and sales cycles, complex decision-making units. That's really the stuff that we love. And I'm really happy that I was able to create a course for you guys, and also very happy that we're going to be talking about B2B marketing, and that B2B marketing really gets the stage that it deserves, partly due to people like you, Stefan, people who have influence, work at a company like CXL, and organize these types of things. So thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So Dapper, I would like to add, leading a B2B agency in the Netherlands. As far as I'm concerned, I do live here as well, so I do have a little bit insight. Growing very fast. I've been following the journey. Exciting stuff. I've also watched you guys niche down quite a bit over the past few years.
Yep.
I believe there was e-commerce in there as well at some point, and then you dropped that in favor of B2B.
Yes.
Practice what we preach. Niche down. It's profitable business. Yeah, cool. So basically, I think I've got a few topics here, and I think the first one I'm interested in is because we're right at that time of the year. I think let's do a quick round of your predictions for 2025. What is the B2B, and I want to kind of zone this around content, because I think personally from my side at least, and what we're seeing is content is playing a bigger and bigger role, especially in the demand generation. So what do you think, if we're not just going to talk B2B marketing in general, because then we can go on for quite long. So your B2B content marketing predictions for 2025, what are we going to see? What is it looking like?
Yeah. So there are about 1,000 things that we can talk about, even within B2B content. What I think first and foremost is that B2B companies start understanding the majority starts understanding now that content is vital in their marketing. I've seen over the past years that B2B companies were very, very focused on acquisition in their marketing, trying to convert clients with their marketing, obviously, but forgetting about these clients that are currently not looking for your solution. And the clients that are currently not looking for your solution, whatever you have to offer in terms of product or service, they need a different treatment. You can't convert them right now. What you do need is content that tells them that they have a problem that you can solve and that you are a party to be trusted. And what I think is that B2B companies with a B2B offering, start understanding that content is vital in this role of educating your client, nurturing them, and being there, not necessarily when you want to convert them, but already before that, and making sure that you become the first company they think of, the prospects think of, when they think of a certain category. And when I talk about content, I think it's very important to note that I'm not only talking about copywriting. I'm not necessarily talking about SEO. Yeah, also not white papers. I'm talking about the content that your prospects like to read, watch, or listen to in 2025. So I think, first of all, companies start understanding that content is important, and that content and the more softer marketing next to acquisition marketing, such as Google Ads and direct outreach, that content is very important, first of all. And then second of all, I think there's going to be a shift towards content that our prospects actually read, watch, and listen to in 2025. So indeed, what you already said just now, Stefan, what we've been trying to do over the past years is push content to our prospects that our prospects don't want to reach, watch, or listen to, right? A big example of that is, of course, are the white papers that we've been using over the past couple of years. White papers that are long white papers that you need to leave your contact details for in order to be able to read them, right? I think B2B companies start understanding what type of content prospects want in 2025. What are we seeing more and more? Short form video content, generally short form content on LinkedIn.
B2B TikTok
formats. Sorry?
Like B2B TikTok, basically.
That format.
Idea, yeah.
So I think what B2B companies start understanding is that the content consumption preferences are changing. And if we want to grab and keep the attention of our prospects, we'll need to adapt to that. We cannot keep pushing the same content that we have been pushing simply because we find it difficult to change. We have to deeply understand our prospects, understand how they like to consume information, how they like to consume content in this day and age, and adapt our content to that. So that's a second change that I think we're going to see. So content changing that B2B companies use. Mm-hmm. By the way, tell me if you want to talk about any of these points.
I'll interrupt you. I do have questions, but I want to hear the third point as well.
Yeah. And then a third one that I think is very important is that we're going to see more people, more faces behind the company, right? So what I mean with that is thought leaders. What I mean with that are documentations of companies. Instead of companies creating slick commercials or talking too much about the product or service that they're trying to deliver, showing the faces behind the brand, right? What people want to see on social media are other people, not necessarily companies. So we see that the companies that are winning right now have been winning actually over the past couple of years, but now more and more people, more and more companies start understanding that this is the way to go. Are companies that use their colleagues to create content and to distribute content. Very practical example. If you post something on your company account on LinkedIn and post that exact same content on your on a personal account on LinkedIn, that personal post is going to get 10 times the reach as compared to that post on a company account, right? So I'd say high over. These are some trends that are interesting and worth talking about and diving a little deeper in.
Cool. So I've got where do you think AI fits into this? Do you think the shift to, so yes, I agree with you. I think more and more people are realizing we need high value content. It doesn't come in the form of a gated industry report, state of marketing in 2025. No one cares. I can get that very quickly.
Yep.
A quick search. I think with this, there is the danger that a lot of people now falls into the AI trap. And at least from the copious amounts of hours that I've put into AI, based on my standards at least, it doesn't deliver the quality content that really moves the needle. I think it can be used as an assistant, as like a partner to creation. But I think if I'm just looking at what's happening on LinkedIn, and I spend a lot of time there, and I know you do as well, it's become pretty sad to go on there. On the one side, you've got a lot more founders, a lot more CEOs, and a lot more companies that do get this, but you also have almost, I want to say, the majority that's just falling into very, very mediocre content. They're like, they see the bus, it's leaving, I'm getting on it, but I'm getting on it with AI. What do you feel about that? Or what are you seeing? What are you predicting? Yeah.
So this is super interesting, right? What I used to already say to people is that it's becoming so crowded online. A couple of years ago already, it became very crowded. Why? Because everybody is a content creator, right? Everybody can write a post. Everybody can create a video. And more people start posting on LinkedIn. Just as an example of a platform where content is published in the B2B context. So the space was already crowded. And what's happening now with generative AI is that it becomes even easier to create content. So what we're seeing is this exponential growth of how much content is pushed online. And then the first thought is, okay, if with all the content that is out there, how on earth am I going to grab the attention of my prospect? But what I believe is that probably, and I don't have the numbers on this, but over half of the content that is published now, as in social media content, but also blogs and content alike, is AI generated content. And I'm not talking about AI assisted content where you use AI to fine tune, to explore, to, there are many ways to use AI.
Spawn and push out.
Yeah, but right now it's just so much shit content. And I think that the way to stand out and grab attention in 2025 is to actually develop a unique point of view and stick to that. Personally, I'm not using AI when I write posts. Maybe sometimes to spell check or to create a 10 different variations on the scroll stopper, right? The first sentence of my post. But generally, I think of it myself. I write it myself. And that is because I know that people will read my post or watch my video because I have something new to say, right? And what you see on LinkedIn now is a lot of regurgitated content, a lot of clearly AI written posts, a lot of clearly AI comments. And the same applies to blogs. And Google is not stupid. Google will also be able to identify good blogs and bad blogs, good copy, bad copy, AI written and written by an expert, right? And I think the same applies to LinkedIn. So generally, if you want to stand out in 2025, I wouldn't say, I definitely think that you shouldn't underestimate AI, and you should work with AI tools every single day because there will only be more of it. Right?
They're not going away. Yeah.
No, exactly. But if you want to stand out with your content, my first tip wouldn't be get to understand ChatGPT or whatever generative AI you're using. My tip would be try to formulate a really, really unique perspective. Try to create really, really unique and high quality content because the space is so freaking crowded. And the only way that you're going to stand out is with a unique point of view and with high quality content. The only way to grab that attention of your prospect, and that attention is it's very hard to grab attention in this day and age.
It's the most expensive currency nowadays.
Exactly, because the attention of your prospect, imagine them opening their Instagram or LinkedIn or any possible screen or platform. There's so many, next to all the shit content, there's so many good content that attracts their attention. And I'm not only talking about the B2B context, because what's I think very important to realize is that as a B2B company, you're not only competing for the attention of your prospects with your competitors, you're competing for the attention with Mr. Beast, the influencers that they're following, YouTube shorts, TikTok shorts. 100%. Why on earth is somebody going to stop scrolling and look at whatever you have to say as boring B2B company? you really have to find something that stands out and that is of high that is of high quality, and also is adapted to the way that people consume content nowadays, right? So that
100%, yeah. I always teach my content teams, and like, if you're going to make a post, it needs to stop someone in their toilet break. Like, that is it. If someone sits on the toilet, takes out their phone, I don't care where they're going. If your post is not breaking that mold, you're not getting through. And you're not going to do that with a white paper where you ask someone for the email. It's just just not the world we live in. You have to entertain. You have to provide value or educate, or in some form or another. Like, obviously, people go on different platforms and at different times of the day for different reasons, looking for different things. But if you're not adding that value, you're just going to fail at this. I do quickly want to touch on something else, because I think you're quite an interesting. Your personal profile is quite an interesting case. You make videos, which is something not everyone does and want to do. Like, I mean, you've got practice makes perfect at the end of the day, but I mean, you're very comfortable in front of the camera. You've got people filming you, or you film yourself. I think that gives a very big advantage at the moment, because obviously it's not AI generated. Like, yes, even if the copy that goes with the post is secondary to the video in all cases, where if you only post an image plus text, or just a text post, which is what you're seeing most nowadays, because that's the easiest thing to spawn with AI. You get an advantage because people watch the video and then almost read the copy. It's very rarely where you'll actually read the copy first and then watch the video, just by the nature of how our social media works and how we as people go about this. What are you seeing on that front? Are your video posts performing better than other posts, just for interest's sake? And then I just want to add something, because not everyone has the LinkedIn TikTok feature yet. I haven't gotten it yet. I don't know. I've seen it, the video feed on LinkedIn. Some people have it, some people don't. Some people are reporting that they're getting millions of views on videos all of a sudden out of nowhere, and it's because of this feature. I haven't seen this yet, so I don't know, but just curious for hearing it out of someone who's posting daily with high quality video content, and you're doing the occasional other post obviously as well. What are you seeing on those metrics as the CEO of a company and someone like pushing quite hard on the content front?
So first of all, in terms of result, what do I see? I think we can look at a couple different things. We can look at simple vanity metrics, right? How many people, how many timelines did I reach? Impressions. How many likes did I get? How many comments? And so on and so forth. I think that is important, but that's not most important. So we can talk about that in a little bit, because indeed I had quite some videos that went viral, so to speak, because of this new feed or this new reel functionality, kind of, where I've easily, with one video I had over a million impressions. But what I think is more important is to look at the effects on what matters most eventually. Why I'm posting so much on LinkedIn, why I'm creating videos every other Sunday in this office here, and why I spend 20% of my time as a founder and CEO creating content, is because I want it to contribute to revenue, right? I get inbound leads out of it, and these inbound leads I convert. So if we talk about inbound leads and revenue and leading that back to the content that I make, it's very hard to do, because it's never the case that from that one person saw one video and after that converted. But generally, I do think that video is the best format to build trust and recognition. It's the best format to build trust and recognition. So if somebody sees 10 videos of me, sees me talk about B2B marketing, sees me talking about demand generation, here's my voice. And after that, I have a sales meeting with that person.
It feels like I know you already.
Exactly. It feels like it feels like they know me already. Compare watching 10 videos of somebody talk about their expertise to reading 10 posts. If somebody watches 10 videos of me as compared to reading 10 posts, there's a huge difference in the level of recognition, credibility, and trust built. And I know there's overlap in these three. So that's why I love video. I don't necessarily always get most likes on videos. oftentimes when I like the posts that have done best in terms of likes are oftentimes short written posts in which I make a strong statement. These are usually the best performing posts from a like perspective. But from a business perspective, where do inbound leads come from? What do they refer to? If they send me a message saying, hey, maybe we could work together, they refer to videos that they watched. And also clients that converted. Sometimes I'm in sales meetings with inbound leads, and they talk my language. They use the terminology. They refer back to videos that I posted a couple months ago. And that's when I realized, okay, these videos are really strong.
And it's not just one video. It's a series. But I completely agree with you. And I just also want to add, I think standing out in the current market is a video gives you that foolproof. This is not fake right at the moment. I know people are playing with the Hey Jen. I watched you created a video the other day of me speaking German. We're thinking about Hey Jen, yeah. And it's like, I don't speak German, but this was almost a perfect German video. I was flabbergasted. I sent it to my German family, and they were like, "This is wow!" It was my voice, it was my lips moving, everything. Like, I mean, you can now spawn videos as well, and I think we'll probably get to a point soon where you can make like a digital copy of yourself. I think that's pretty cool. When I was a child, I always thought it would be nice to have a clone that could do me every day, do not my chores, but just to go to school, do my work. It would be nice if you can. I know you can. Create meaningful, valuable videos, but we're not there just yet. I haven't seen something that's convincing us, at least for the moment, and I don't think, at least in the next few months, it might not get there. But yeah, I think the video gives you that power that someone gets to know you. It almost feels like they can now invite you for lunch or take you out for a drink after I've watched 50 of your videos, and that is what demand generation really comes down to. I want to quickly touch on, just to roll the conversation again. Do you feel that we're going to see less B2B companies resort to interns and juniors for social media in the upcoming year? Because what I'm seeing online is a lot more senior leaders now finally, at least in the marketing space, take back social media, which is commonly known to be thrown to an intern, like, hey, just go make a few posts. We don't care. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Just put some stuff out there. Canva, go. Terrible content. It doesn't get you anywhere. It's not generating any demand. The intern, not for any like a lack of what they're bringing to the table. They're just not thought leaders. Like, you can't expect someone who just walked out of university into their first job to explain to people why cybersecurity is very beneficial to their business. Yes, they can interview the CEO, but they're not going to bring that. So what I am seeing is a lot more marketing leaders taking back their content, newsletters, social media, not necessarily posting themselves, but getting way closer to the content. And then obviously a lot of founders and CEOs that's now realizing, hey, maybe I should make videos. Maybe I should post more. What do you think? Are we going to see that shift a lot more or less? Because you're obviously working with these clients as well. You've got more insight into the teams. Less interns, more seniors?
I definitely see that people, aka prospects and clients of mine, are responding much more positively to our requests of involving a subject matter expert, a senior expert in the organization, a founder, a C-level executive that can talk about the problems of the prospect with the most passion, about their product and solution with the most passion. I am very happy that you're introducing this topic, because this is still a problem in a lot of companies, and was an even bigger problem. Social media and content marketing more generally is heavily underestimated. The power of content and the power to attract but also repel clients is heavily underestimated. Content is literally, the content that you put out there is literally what your prospect sees of you, right? And what I see is that interns indeed, or juniors, are asked to maintain the social media of the company, and in the worst case, even of the CEO or the founder of the company in question. And these interns or juniors simply aren't experts, right? So what content needs to do are a couple things. Content needs to show that you solve a certain problem, right? Content needs to show that you're an expert in what you do. Content needs to show that that you can be trusted, that you're credible. Again, there's overlap in these three, but the person that can best do that is the person within the organization with the most experience, that can talk with the most conviction about the solution that you're providing. If you're going to give your social media away to your intern or your junior, indeed, you're going to get a post around Easter, around Mother's Day, stuff that nobody is looking for, and is definitely not going to create demand for your product or service. So indeed, we need senior staff to be involved in content creation. But here's the paradox. The people that you need most in content creation are also the people that have the least time to create content. And that's always why it was given away. First of all, because it was underestimated, because people didn't see the power of social media for some reason in B2B. We're always lagging behind a little bit in B2B. Now people start understanding it, and they're like, okay, we need the founder to start posting on LinkedIn. We need them to record a podcast or to post on LinkedIn. Oh shit, that's almost impossible because their agenda is already fuller than possible. So how are we going to do that, right?
Which brings us to the next question. I think that is exactly the next topic. And I think I just want to quickly roll back to something you said earlier. You specifically mentioned you put how many hours per week?
I easily spent 20% of my time creating content. Easily.
There we go. Cool. So I just want to hold you there. You're not the first founder that I've heard now explicitly mention this. Like, I'm seeing this come around quite often as well. It pays off. Like, I think the moment people realize that as the senior leader, that investment of time pays off. And if you do this over the long run, like, yes, you're not going to post 2 videos and see a return on investment. But if you do this for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years in a row, it starts compounding. And that investment of your time is actually some of the best investment of your time with the highest return on investment. It's hard to measure because you can't directly measure it. Not by video per video, at least. And like we say, the views are vanity at the end of the day. But I am seeing this more often where founders are proudly almost stating, like, I'm spending 10% of my time. I'm spending, 10 hours or 15 hours a week or 20% of my time creating content. And I am seeing that. And I think this needs to be said louder, because this is something that the founders, the CEOs, the leaders out there actually need to hear, that there are other leaders doing this and that there is a return on investment on the other side. So basically then the question that I want to put to you, and I can imagine some of the people here listening is wondering, cool, we hear this all the time. We know our founder needs to be on there. We know the senior leadership needs to be on. It doesn't necessarily have to be the founder or the CEO, but someone in the company who's not the intern, that really knows what they're talking about, understanding the customers, how to add benefit to that and how to add value. We know we need to get them there, but how do we do this? And I think that's the most practical thing. And also what I try to do here at CXL is not to just have this be another conversation, but how do we get that senior leader to do it? And once again, you're sitting with the customers, and I know you're pushing the strategy with your customers. What do you advise the teams? How do you get them to give that 20% of time?
I have a couple of very, very practical things that I can talk about. Just quickly to emphasize the impact that it had on our company, to make people understand why this is so important and why, as a CEO, I decide to spend 20% of my time writing posts, making videos, doing things like this with you, actually. Well, if we go back in time, 2.5 years ago, we had a tough time getting in clients. We were a much smaller agency. And what we were doing at that moment is we were doing some Google ads. It was very hard to compete. We're competing in a red ocean, a lot of similar agencies ranking for these same keywords. We did some direct outreach. And other than that, it was basically referral, right? That gave us new clients. We did a good job somewhere and another company referred us. Or that company referred us to another company. So we were growing slowly. And at that moment, I decided, well, we have a great team. We have a great solution. What we need to do, first of all, is pick a niche, which was B2B scale-ups. And second of all, people in that niche need to know who we are. If they know who we are, then they can think of us whenever they need us. And the only way to do that is by showing yourself, right? Business is created by reminding people that you exist. If your prospect doesn't know that you exist or doesn't have you top of mind, then they cannot decide to work with you. They cannot even consider you, right? That's why I like that you gave this webinar the title "Mental Availability," right? So what I decided to do at that moment is I decided to start creating content. not sometimes, but constantly and consistently. I started posting 3 to 5 times a week. I started creating videos every 2 weeks, a couple of videos. I started writing a newsletter, eventually created a podcast. I asked my team to start posting on LinkedIn. Our goal was to become famous in our niche, our small niche of ideal customers. That's also why we coined the term becoming niche famous, and we developed the niche famous framework, right? Which is basically demand generation with a stronger focus on becoming famous in your niche and less focus on short-term results. So we started doing that, and the first year was relatively slow. But after that, there was a turning point where all of a sudden, within our niche, people started coming to us when they had a marketing question, when they needed an agency. We became famous in our niche, and at a certain point, which is right now still the case, we're getting more inbound leads than we can handle, which is very rare because, again, we're operating in a red ocean. There are a lot of agencies, and yet we have more leads than we can handle. So we doubled in size the past 2 years because we're creating content. So with us, it's not an extra. It's a core. It's our main driver of growth, creating content. And that's the reason why I'm spending 20% of my time creating content. So your question was,
how do we get your clients to do the same? Because you're obviously, and I've seen the case study, so I know you push this onto them as well. How do we make that work?
How do we make that work? So I think the first thing is emphasize the criticality of the involvement and the time that needs to be invested from the subject matter experts. So when I'm talking about subject matter experts, it can be a founder of the organization, can be the CEO, can be the CTO, whoever you're trying to involve in your content creation, that I call a subject matter expert. The first thing you want to do is emphasize the criticality. You need to tell them, without their input for content, we won't create content that creates problem and solution awareness, that builds trust and credibility. Without that content that does all of these things, demand generation doesn't work, right? Without that, no pipeline, no revenue. So it's if you make very clear that we need them eventually to generate net new revenue, to get in new logos, oftentimes that makes them understand, okay, I'm not just creating a video, I'm not just writing a post. What I'm doing here is I'm actually doing something that gets the company in revenue. The only difficult thing is that not after one video or one post, you're going to get that new client. So you have to emphasize the criticality, and you have to emphasize that it takes time and continuous involvement and investment of time over a longer period of time. So what I like to do is just show case studies. Hey, we've been doing this at this company for half a year, and all of a sudden it starts working. They're getting inbound leads in. You see that compounding effect of becoming niche famous and becoming the first one that people think of, the prospects think of in a certain category, right? So emphasizing criticality, expectation management, how long do certain things take and what do I expect of you for that period of time? And then thirdly, you want to set up a very clear structure. So creating content will never be the most urgent thing in somebody's agenda. They'll probably have a million other things that are more urgent at this moment, but it's very important, right, for future success. So what you want to do is make sure that it's not one of the things they can possibly do on a day, but you want to plan certain blocks in their agenda to make sure that on Tuesday morning, they have something in their agenda for an hour where they're going to write a LinkedIn post. Or you have the Friday morning every 3 weeks where you reserve 2 hours to create video content with them or a podcast or whatever it may be. So it all starts with what kind of content are we going to create? What are the steps in the steps in the process of creating the piece of content, and putting these things in their agenda as fixed blocks, right? They're as important as a meeting with a client or a meeting with the management team. And again, that also relates back to the first point, emphasizing the criticality, but you have to put it in their agenda. So I would say that these 3 things are very important. Then there's another, I would say, bonus tip. Let's say if you're posting on LinkedIn, what really helps is creating accountability. So what we do within our organization and within our agency, and what I recommend other people to do as well, is create a recurring meeting with all the people that you're trying to involve in posting. have a meeting, for instance, in our case, every Friday, half an hour, in which we give feedback on each other's post. So we have a very clear structure for the meeting, because it can get messy if you don't have that. Very clear structure. Everybody gives feedback to one other person. And because of it, everybody's posting.
Yeah,
right?
because you don't want to be left behind. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't want to be left behind. And we already also say, okay, next week you're going to give feedback to that person. So if you didn't post, that other person couldn't give feedback. So there's a very strong positive social control. So that's also something that I would give as a bonus tip to get people to keep creating content.
Cool. Yeah, I want to add. I think this is vital. I also want to say, I think the slotting in a meeting and making it a thing is probably one of the most crucial things. It needs to become a rhythm, and finding that rhythm is almost the hardest part, because oftentimes you slot them in and they kind of get moved out, and like whoever's slotting that in, you need to stand behind that meeting. Like this is the most important thing on my calendar. Like your time as the CEO, if I'm sitting you down, there's nothing more important in my job than doing this right now. This is it. So if you move that meeting out, I'm losing a big chunk of my important work.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is, what I want to add is, I've seen this happen in different forms. So some people, it comes in the form of write your own post. Some people are just never going to write. They do need a ghostwriter. That's a fact. Extract the knowledge, write the post, send it to them for sign off to add their unique voice. And over time, they actually end up editing so much that they take over the job, and they kind of get taught how to do it. In other cases, it's really just webinars and podcasts. Like if you don't want to write, can we at least put you in the, like, can we line up the partners and the network to make webinars? Like we don't have to do it live. It can be done on demand. We record it, we cut it up, get that person talking. What I've also seen working is, if it's really hard, get someone in the office with a phone. And here's another thing, you don't need expensive equipment. You really don't. Get an iPhone or even any of the Androids, walk up to the guy, ask him a critical question that comes from the front line, and have him answer it on a TikTok style video. It comes in many different forms, but it's important to kind of get over that. So I think also, just to bring it back to like what we do at CXL, obviously it's all about experimentation. So I do want to challenge everyone. If you're not doing this already, do go test this. Go test a post, like Tycho said, on the company page versus the personal page. Like get the CEO or that subject matter experts profile in the right place, and then run this experiment for not a week. Unfortunately, it is content. You can't just do a test with like one post a week or two posts. You have to run this over like a quarter or something. Set a rhythm, 2 posts a week, run it over a quarter. Try the exact same thing, even if it's just to prove the point. Take the same post it on 2 accounts. Do not tag the company account. I think that's quite important, because LinkedIn just kills it the moment you do that. Post the same thing, see what happens. See what reach comes out, even if it's a vanity metric. Just weigh the 2 up against each other, and I promise you're going to sit with probably 1 million on the one side, because people do tend to listen to CEOs out there, and maybe 50,000 on the other side. It's depending on how big that audience on the pages. But run this as an experiment, see what comes out of it, and then also just for those of you who might not have tried the thought leadership boosting ads on LinkedIn, they outperform anything else that I've at least seen. And I know the LinkedIn ads expert out there, they're putting this out there quite often. You can boost those posts from the page of the company as the employee or someone else that maybe mentioned something, but it really works to get it in front of the right people to just make that go further.
Yeah, cool. Maybe I would like to just say one thing, because you triggered me. Let's say your CEO doesn't have a lot of time. Let's say your CEO or whoever your subject matter expert is doesn't feel like scripting a video and preparing a script and recording it. Just put that person in a room with another expert, like we're doing now, you and I, Stefan.
Have a conversation recorded.
Have a freaking conversation recorded of an hour. Give them some talking points. We know that it's going to be a good conversation if you give them certain talking points and if you put 2 experts in a room. The only thing that you need from them is 1 hour or maybe 2 hours every month in which you put these 2 experts in a room, put 2 cameras on them or 2 freaking iPhones, because a lot of the videos that I create that do very well are recorded with an iPhone and a little Rode microphone. Put them in a room, have them talk to each other about certain talking points, 2 iPhones, and you have probably 5 to 10 shorts that you can post on LinkedIn, right? So that's the level you can operate with and already get great results.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. Awesome. So we've got about 6 minutes left. Where I do want to, because we can talk forever about this. I know, you and I. Let's talk a little bit about your course that you are doing with us, because obviously these are topics that people are interested in. That's why we did the course. And demand generation, it goes way beyond just making videos with iPhones. At the end of the day, I mean, you do touch on this in your course extensively as well, but you also touch on like, what do you do with that demand? How do you capture that? What is the different strategies? What is working? What are the case studies you guys are seeing? Way more extensive. I believe it's almost 2.5 hours worth of course material. It is launching next week, Thursday, if I'm correct, if I've got that right from my team earlier today, which is exciting because that's a week from now. So from your perspective, what are you teaching in that course for anyone who might be interested?
Yeah. So what my goal is with this course is to show the wider public, all the B2B marketers out there, what I believe should be the current framework of doing B2B marketing. So in these 2.5, 3 hours, I'm going to take you through the whole process of setting up a modern day B2B marketing machine. From doing the research, getting the input, gathering the data, to developing a strategy, deciding which channels you're going to use, what content you're going to create, how you're going to capture active demand, and so on and so forth, to eventually actually creating content, setting up campaigns, but also measuring success. How do we measure success in a world where we can measure less and less, right? So it's basically a full overview of how I believe B2B marketing should be done in this day and age. And that's what it is, Stefan.
Which is obviously based on what you're seeing in the market. It's not just what you think, but obviously what's working, because otherwise it wouldn't be building a strong company on the other side.
Exactly. Cool. So that's what it is, right? We've worked with hundreds of B2B businesses to improve their marketing, to improve ROI on their marketing. So it's what we're presenting in this course is based on the learning of all these hundreds of companies that we've helped grow over the past couple of years.
Cool. There we go. And that's that. And I think we've reached the end of this conversation. Unfortunately, we can definitely do another one, and I can come up with more topics to discuss with you, 100%.
Sure.
But I do want to thank you, Tycho. Have a great evening. I know it's a little bit chilly in the Netherlands at the moment, but I wish you nothing but a good evening. And once again, thanks for your time and sharing your insights with our community. We will be sharing this out as an on-demand video as well. So those of you that can stay the whole time, or might have friends and colleagues that can go to, or maybe share this to your founders and CEOs and senior people at your company that you might want to convince, we'll be sending this out afterwards, and it will also be available on demand. And you can take it from there. But I wish everyone a good day and a good evening. And thank you for joining us. Cheers, Tycho.
Awesome. Thank you.